What is a malware crypter? That is a good question. Understanding tools and tactics used by hackers to make malware harder to detect can be really hard to understand, and that's why I'm making this video to help you guys. So let's start with a simple definition of malware, which is simply malicious software. Some examples of the different types of malware are info stealers, ransomware, crypto miners, adware, and rootkits, just to name a few. I'll make videos on all these types of malware at some point. So what is a crypter? Trend Micro, IT security firm, have defined what a crypter is. A crypter is a type of software that can encrypt, obfuscate, and manipulate malware to make it harder to detect by security programs. Now, definitions are great and all, but what does this actually look like? Let's start with a piece of malware that a hacker or red teamer is trying to make harder to detect. This will usually be in the form of a portable executable for Windows, but the logic for this explanation will also apply to Unix-based systems too, like Mac and Linux. So here you have the malicious executable. The hacker does not want the antivirus on the target device to detect it, so the crypto tool comes in handy here. The original executable in a two-step process is encrypted with a cipher like the Advanced Encryption Standard 256 or AES 256, which is symmetric encryption. A key will also be generated by the crypter. The encrypted executable will be in a form of raw encrypted bytes. Next, the hacker or red teamer will load the encrypted payload and key into a file called a stub. The stub is what is ran on the target machine. During the attack, the user will run the stub file and the stub will decrypt the malicious bytes with the key. The malicious payload will then be loaded into memory and run its chaos on the machine. Because the actual payload never touches the disk, this is considered a fileless attack. Legacy antiviruses will only pay attention to the stub file's hash, which is the irrevocable fingerprint of the file. The legacy antivirus won't pay attention to what the stub has created, which is the malicious payload, because it's in memory. So it will compare the file hash to the malicious file hash databases on the internet. If no matches are found, the antivirus will consider it to be safe. This now means the hacker is happy that the malware can run without any interference and the user is completely oblivious. Crypters sometimes have a feature called persistence. This is where malware makes itself run whenever the device is powered up or at specific intervals. This can be done with registry keys and scheduled tasks for Windows. They can also have a feature dubbed as mutex, which is not to be considered with mutex in programming languages. This just simply makes sure the malware is not ran twice in the same environment. Anti-VM is a feature in some crypters. It allows the stub to detect whether it's inside of a virtual machine or not. This also applies to anti-debug. Anti-debug is a feature in crypters too. It detects whether it's inside of a debugging environment rather than a virtual environment. And if anti-VM or anti-debug detects either of which, then it will not run inside of that environment. This is to avoid the malware from being analyzed. However, modern AVs and EDR can actually detect the malicious payload in the memory, comparing these to known indicators of compromises or file hashes, but more reliably, analyzing and monitoring the behavior of the process is what modern antiviruses do. But I'm going to point out a very serious problem, specifically with Windows Defender. Now, I do want to say that this requires administrator permissions. You can actually configure Windows Defender to exclude all monitoring engines in a chosen directory. This is great if you're a user and you want this to happen. However, if you're a hacker, you can actually use this to your advantage. With a simple PowerShell script, the stub can make the malware pretty much undetectable by Windows Defender. So moral of the story, absolutely never run any unsigned random executable that requires administrator permissions. Now, if this is your first time learning about antiviruses, it's a complete rabbit hole. It's a very interesting one too, but I'll get around to making a specific video on antiviruses. Anyway, crypters are sold on hacking forums as a service to make other hackers' malware harder to detect. A term that these crypto sellers like to throw around is FUD, or fully undetected. If you have a brain, you can already tell this is a sales term. It's used to flaunt zero detections on virustotal. Most of the antivirus engines on virustotal from security vendors are static, but crypters are effective dynamically, so it's pretty easy to not get any detections and it's not impressive. So that's a really simple explanation for crypters. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, subscribe because there'll be more videos like this very soon, and bye bye.